Hi, everyone. I'm Ian Heller with Distribution Strategy Group. Welcome to today's latest webinar in our best practice series, Warehouse and Supply Chain Technology. We're going to gain knowledge from the Newman Group. So Pat Hanrahan is out sick today, so he's the VP of Business Development. In a little while, we'll welcome Dan Hanrahan to the show, who's the president, and will take over for Pat. We hope that Pat feels much better soon. Before we get started, let's do a little business. First, I want to tell you about this fantastic event we have coming up called Applied Artificial Intelligence for Distributors. We have more than 30 technology companies coming together to talk about their AI-enabled technologies and how they can give distributors better business outcomes. It's on October 3rd through 5th at the Chicago Marriott O'Hare, where I happen to be right this moment, as it turns out. Go to distributionstrategy.com and click on the top for more information. The show is also brought to you by Customer Experience RX, which is our special Net Promoter Score system designed particularly for distributors. It gives you deep and actionable insights on a wide variety of factors, including how your sales reps are performing, what people think of your pricing, your customer service, your product assortment, and much, much more. It's a real MRI into your operations with actionable information that can help you run a better distribution company. So you can also get more information at distributionstrategy.com and go to analytics. So we invite you to get more information. This has been a very, very popular product, and a lot of great distributors are already using it to understand what their customers think of them. Now, I want to welcome in Sandy Leon from Epicor, who's going to tell us a little bit about what Epicor offers for distributors. How are you today, Sandy?
I am good. Thanks, Ian. We're happy to be a sponsor today. Epicor is here for the hardworking businesses that make, move, and sell. And when it comes to the move, our distribution customers, we've been in the distribution industry for over 50 years. We know your world, we get your challenges, and we can help you solve them. In fact, when we ask customers why they chose Epicor, the thing they say most often is that we get them, and our software is the best fit for what they do right out of the box. The other thing that we're really proud of is our customer retention rate is an unheard of 95%. That's not by chance. We work hard for that figure. Today, Dan Hanrahan is going to share some insights on warehouse and supply chain technology. In our 50 years of serving distributors, we've never seen anything quite like the fast-changing supply chain environment that we're in today. Many distribution companies are mitigating their risks by redesigning supply chain flows, increasing inventory capabilities, developing advanced forecasting, and looking for new tech partners to diversify and limit risk. If you're looking for new technology, we'd love to talk. Our ERP solutions are designed to help you effectively manage your supply chain from forecasting to fulfillment and set your company up for future growth.
Fantastic. Well, I know it's a great product, and Sandy, I can't imagine any distributor in the ERP market who doesn't have Epicor as one of the leaders on their consideration set. So we're really delighted to have your support. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Okay, so let's bring in Dan Hanrahan. Dan, thank you so much. I know you're pinch hitting at the last second for Pat. I'm sorry he's out ill, but thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you. Yeah, he has one of those new three-letter viruses that are going around. It's I guess the curse of having young children, and he brings the grandchildren over. I'll probably get it too. It just seems like they're passed from person to person. So I'll pinch hit for him. Hopefully I can do a job that, makes him proud. How's that? Look forward to talking with the people. So
I'm sure you will. You want to tell us a little bit about the Newman Group?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been around for 35 years. I'm the founder of the company. We started as a custom software house and just migrated into that warehouse automation space and have been spending for the last 25 years of our existence in that. So we have a full in-house engineering design team, mechanical, electrical, systems design, and the most important part is the software component that connects automation to the ERP platform. Next. So the WES really exists for one reason alone, and that is taking and connecting up automation to the ERP system. It's a complementary technology. So look at a number of the different ERPs we've connected to. Epicor is a great example of a really strong ERP, but that also has a really strong WMS, and that really allows the existence of this new layer of technology, warehouse execution, to connect up with the various different warehouse management and ERP technologies that are available today in the market. Next. So let's go through. I think most of you know where your functionalities is, but what really makes a good WMS that's internal? And again, we could point to Epicor in this area. The base, almost like the blocking and tackling requirements that you would see on a football team, you need to be able to receive product, basic purchase order, advanced ship notice capabilities, receiving that product, performing an inbound check of the quality, managing the movement of the product from receiving to put away storage. So the ability to move from dock to storage, zone, location-based, put away, managing that bin inventory across the warehouse. So you have forward picking locations, you have reserve locations. You want to be able to segregate, say, each picks from case pick type applications. You can do so by a good put away strategy. Also, the replenishment, real-time replenishment is really a good, strong capability now in the WMSs. So as items are being decremented from the bin in a picking process, there's that standard min-max inventory replenishment functionality. That replenishment happens prior to running out of inventory. And then picking. WMSs, components of the ERP, have very good basic WMS, or I should say basic picking requirements. This is where some of the areas where the WES can start adding some additional value. Packing, shipping, typically tends to be manual workstations. When does it make sense to look at automating manifesting, automating the flow of cartons into pick and pack? There's an order volume that WES can complement the ERP by bringing automation into those areas. And then again, one of the other basic core functions, being able to process returns, move that product back into stock. So the top 7 features basically that the WMS features within the ERP should be providing. And if you have those, you're really a great candidate for looking at different automation components that typically managed by the warehouse execution system. Next.
Good. And why I changed the page here, just want to remind people, if they have questions, go ahead and use the Q&A button. Back to you, Dan.
So, sometimes we walk into clients who have a really strong ERP, and they're looking at, well, I need a tier 1 warehouse management system to add to their ERP. That's kind of a myth. As we said, if we have all those base capabilities, then we can complement the existing warehouse management functions of the ERP by adding the right blend of automation. And then if someone thinks the ERP by itself is really sufficient for some of the demands requirements that are coming about in omni-channel, where you're trying to deliver e-commerce, possibly manage processes that require like fulfilled by Amazon or fulfilled by Walmart, handle a lot of mixed shipment, customers that are taking both pallet level orders, LTL, pallet level type orders, and parcel orders. The blend of that technology, that's really some areas where automation is where a customer starts investigating, how do I do those processes more efficient and are managed more efficiently. That's the roles really where we see the warehouse execution system complementing that WMS capabilities we were speaking about earlier. Next. So signs you're ready for investigating warehouse execution. You have an operation and your current picking processes just can't keep up with the order volume. You've got daily fluctuations or seasonal fluctuations, and instead of trying to, rely on a number of overtime or bringing in temporary workforce, can we bring better processes to the operation and increase the productivity of the existing workers through better processes and technologies, eliminating those bottlenecks And I like to say, when you're showing up at work and you see, hey, there's no more parking spots in the warehouse and all of them being occupied by these temporary workers, maybe it's time to start investigating a warehouse execution system. That's my joke of the day. So, all right. So next, so the WS architecture, just kind of as a high level. So we have, of course, the ERP WMS functionality sitting above the warehouse execution system, which is using a standard API more and more today than custom interfaces. We're getting the order data, order level details sent to the warehouse executions system, and it's then managing some different mix of automation components that are required within the facility. It has some other functionalities, such as real-time inventory awareness. If there's, let's say, a large group of orders gets dropped to the execution system, and it sees some of those orders don't have the forward inventory available, we can use alerts and messages and so forth to complement the ERP's WMS capabilities to show that a replenishment needs to be done to execute all of those orders. So some of those functionalities, that real-time control, that integration of different levels of intelligent automation technologies, that's really the core role of what that warehouse execution system brings to the ERP. Next. So touch on connectivity again. Again, just as an illustration, high level, the ERP WMS, financial, inventory management, one inventory records across your whole business system, and then the API connecting up leaner processes, and then managing those processes and automation technologies that magnify the performance of those technologies. And those could be, as shown in the illustrations below, picking, advanced picking, voice-based picking, pick-to-light, material handling, conveyor systems, sortation systems, autonomous mobile robots, again, an increasing growing area of technology where the autonomous mobile robots are used to move order picking carts or pallets within pick-to-pallet mixed case picking applications within the warehouse operations. Goods to person, automated storage technologies, and then packing and shipping and automating that labeling process. You know, more and more retailer and customers, I could call them e-tailers also, companies such as Amazon, Walmart's marketplaces are requiring specialty labels. They want a SEC 128 label applied to every order that's pointing towards the content of what's inside a mixed case order or even a full case. That's an area, if your volume gets high enough, you know, a machine I like to call print and apply labeling, you know, one of our lowest cost robots that exists in the industry that can print, apply labels and replace that manual process within many areas within the distribution center. So next. Yeah. So what are we trying to do with a warehouse execution system? It's trying to drive the same continuous work processes throughout your workforce, standardization where every worker executes in the same manner, and trying to eliminate that reliance on tribal knowledge, or possibly the individual in a warehouse that, you know, I'll walk in and there's an order start area where, based on business rules and those labels and so forth, they all get batched and printed up front. And there's a person putting paperwork together to then hand out that work to the workforce. It's a paperless operation, as most warehouse execution systems take the business rules, execute, utilize the right technologies to eliminate paper, but enforce the same consistent business rules across the operation, reduce that dependency on manual labor, and increase order throughput. All of those are, you know, why a warehouse execution system would be considered in a purchase. And majority of our customers are really looking for this measurable return on investment. I say all customers, not just mine, but the industry in general. What is this automation, this technology going to do? So that design engineering to really look at what are your current KPIs? What are the performances of your employees, your order throughput? What's your accuracy rates? How does the investment in automation provide a measurable return on investment? Those are asked from, I think, across industry through the vendors of warehouse execution systems. So I think we hit those points there. The first thing when we think of the warehouse execution system is its orchestration layer. And that comes into where order release comes in, and possibly adding a little bit more advanced cartonization, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. The ability to create waves of orders, either continuous or wave release technologies for both parcel level orders and also LTL orders. We touched on the inventory awareness, also order prioritization. Are there orders, once there's measurable performance and throughput within the distribution center through the automation, when do orders that have same day deliveries possibly get released? They may be getting released with the orders to optimize a wave throughout the day, but at 1:30 in the afternoon or 2 in the afternoon, whenever that parcel carrier cutoff is for shipping that air the next day, all those orders get advanced and move up into its priority so that we're ensuring that a high priority order gets out the door within the required time limits. Directing picking in multiple zones, that's a very strong capability of zone-based picking in warehouse execution systems, with the ability to consolidate those orders, automation that can consolidate picks that may be happening in parallel across multiple zones. And of course, travel path optimizations that, allow, if it's a batch picking, say, operation, how do I group like orders together that have a common SKU and pick across 5 different orders simultaneously or more during a visit to a pick location? Drives 300-400% efficiency gains in regards to going there discreetly and visiting the same location multiple times. So it's all about taking touches out, building in processes that are going to optimize the operation. Next. So that cartonization. So if you're releasing the orders, and you can look at the cartonization, and we're using something beyond what I call fluid level, and that's where you're seeing most of the warehouse execution systems having a much higher degree, multiple algorithms working together, looks at things like the size of the cube of an item, looks at its pack class. Is it glass? Does it have specialty handling? Is it fragile? Is there a bottled product? Is there a product that might have, hazmat rules associated with it? What containers? How do they pick? How can I drive if you are experiencing a growth, or you have a strategy to grow your e-com business? Are there products that you ship that can go in a poly bag? The advanced cartonization logic within the warehouse execution systems can add that functionality. And I think one of the keys is really driving to 93% utilization of a carton. In other words, that you don't want to be within 40 or 50%, and flu models will do that. Advanced cartonization logic really can drive that material usage down, but more importantly, shipping costs down. I have you could use an example, a customer who may be utilizing poly bags and shipping 200 orders a day. If the cartonization looks at the logic of the products that could ship and drives another 50 to 100 orders a day through the polybag shipment method, you're just saving $1.50 to $2 or more per shipment. So that significantly adds up in the return on investment. That's what advanced cartonization can do to the operation. The inventory awareness, we touched on that. This is, again, complementing, not trying to replace the inventory management functions of the ERP, but looking at that large order drop, forward inventory locations, releasing orders that have inventory available, and alerting the operations through email or alert messages, a text message, web screens. We need to have a replenishment done. So driving awareness to the right person in the operation to take care of that functionality and manage the picking automation processes more efficiently. So we're going to now touch on, went right into what are some of the components of where a warehouse execution system starts. That can be in automations that help facilitate accelerating the performance of a receiving and additionally add cross-dock to a function. So here's an illustration of a conveyor extended system. It could be used for a container or truck unloading. Many times this is, if you're bringing in container levels, you may have mixed SKUs on it. So an EDI transfer, the data comes in. Let's audit that container. Let's capture the weight and cube of each of the items that are going in. So you have that information within your warehouse. And then do I have any cross-dock operations? Can I automatically, knowing this product come in, apply labels to it? And then as it goes through that auditing process, bring it into a sortation system that sorts like SKUs to pallets for more efficient put away and or directing products that are cross-dockable to the right location. So adding and accelerating, again, the performance of the ERP by bolting on automation in the receiving process. A picking suite. The warehouse execution system should have a broad picking suite. That can include voice-directed picking, pick to light, managing the workforce, directing that workforce using wearable computers, hands-free barcode scanning, integrating barcode scanning with fork truck operations, pick to light. Is that a good, viable technology? Most of the time it is, where you have really high concentrations, small quantities of SKUs, and these technologies all can work together. So voice and lights are really now today one technology be driven by the same software. Pick to light and order consolidation, or an order fulfillment sortation system that brings a lot of items together from across warehouse zones and sorts those to the specific order. That's essentially the pick to light system. Integrating the picking systems, as we touched upon a little earlier, with autonomous mobile robots or batch picking carts, and then really the technology today that a lot of companies are exploring or want to know, does it fit my business? Does it have a good return on investment? Is goods to person technologies. All of these are really picking technologies that get managed and could be handled through the picking suite, but additionally connected and managed by the WES across the warehouse operation. So pick by voice, if you haven't explored that, this is now 5th, 6th generation technology. We've been involved ourselves in voice for over 12 years. And it's all about keeping the operators working in a operation hands-free, eyes focused on their work task. And when you do that, you get a gain in productivity. Not that you don't provide a wearable display that allows handling exceptions or can display that information, but majority of your base order picking tasks can be done very efficiently through just a voice message and a scanned confirmation of each of the actions. So you lean up those processes and you drive up accuracies, and it also manages that end-to-end work assignment. If you're completed a task, an operator uses a voice command that says new work. Where do I shift that person based upon its work demand in picking or to receiving or to a replenishment task? All of that is done more efficiently through that combination of voice with wearable and barcode scanning technologies. Touched on batch order picking. And when you look at a batch order pick, if it's a manual push cart, you're typically batch picking 12 or more orders. Where does the autonomous mobile robot come into play? It has that ability to move a lot more weight. So what we're showing here are carts that can move 25 or more orders. So now you're getting a far higher concentration, higher density picking, and the autonomous mobile robots really acting to pick up and move those carts. So the carts are decoupled from the autonomous mobile robots. You're able to pick up the carts when they're empty, direct them to the right pick locations. They visit each of the locations and then direct it to the right packing stations, unload, typically again along an automated pack and ship line. There's some other functionalities that are included when batch picking. If you have a real large zone or a large quantity, let's say several thousand slow moving SKUs, and they don't pick a lot. They're really your dog pound, the C's and the D movers. A process that wave ahead logic goes and sweeps all of those out to a shelf pick cart and moves that cart into the pick path. So essentially synchronizes slow moving picking by picking all of those to a barcoded shelf location, moving that to basically be a dynamic forward storage location, excuse me, and then integrating that picking process. So slow movers and your moderate to fast movers all can be picked together. And then speed picking. If I have single shipments, how do I sweep those out and direct them to the right packing station for efficiencies? All can occur, the speed picking, zone picking, pick to carton, full case picks, all can occur on that same cart. So it's bringing those processes together all in a single path trip with a larger autonomous mobile robot cart. And then what's important in a warehouse execution system, as you build these technologies from a manual batch pick cart to the discrete order pick cart, and then you move to an autonomous mobile robot cart, all those processes are in play. And let's say at the end of the day, you just have one or two orders that need to be picked for high priority cutoff time. If you're doing that, you don't want to possibly use the autonomous mobile robot because it's really suited to pick 25 orders. An operator can log in and use the system accordingly. So you always have that redundancy and that flexibility to use all of the process within the distribution center, each of these three. So the next technology that's really starting to come about, as I say, is goods to person. And a goods to person system traditionally is a big investment in precision structural steel. You need to have this support mechanism, power rails, the AMRs, autonomous robots that are doing the picking and moving are running in a rail-based system. That's the more traditional type technologies. A good example of that would be a Canop system, a Rapistan, goods to person system, good technologies, very fast, however expensive. You're typically starting with a goods to person system. The structural steel could be $1 to $2 million by itself before you start getting the automation. The AMR-based solutions are really the next generation Kivas, if you remember the Kiva technology, where the autonomous mobile robots go up and pick up shelves and bring those to the picking stations. That's a form of a robotics goods to person system. Some of its advantages now today, faster AMRs, safer AMRs, they have LiDAR guidance systems on them, and you start getting what we'd say delivery rates of carts that can have 30 to shelves, I should say, that have 30 to 50 SKUs sometimes located on it, getting delivered at up to 150 shelves per hour to a picking station. So takes out the walking, automates storage, dense storage technology. So you get that efficiencies. This is the role that a warehouse execution system works well to manage these systems along with the complementary packing and other technologies that would be used within the order fulfillment process. Next. The other aspect of the system is that parallelism. So with the goods to person, again, another showing of a technology here where you're typically going to be looking at slotting decisions. What fits best? What SKUs should be put into goods to person? Most likely, the largest percentage as a rule of thumb is not your A movers, but your B and C. So if you're buying the AMR and cost of justifying that system, the goods to person system, I should say, you're going to locate the right SKUs into it, but then in parallel, you need to have a picking process that's moving those A movers. A good application for the warehouse execution to really do that orchestration and management of multiple technologies across the distribution center. And that could be, like we said, the pick by voice or some other picking technology, handling those really high movers, maybe handling those D movers, and then keeping the sweet spot of the B and C movers within the goods to person technologies. Just touchdown, we talked a little bit about order consolidation using a put wall. This is an example here where, you know, across zones, you can see batch picking like SKUs. So they're sweeping out either a full case or less than case into totes, bringing those to the order consolidation. And you can see that combination technology where it's got a voice headset, hand scanning a SKU, energizing a light, directing that quantity put across multiple locations or a single location. And then on that backside, as an order completes on the backside of the wall, a message display light typically is there that tells them what size carton should that order be packed to, and it directs that packing to scan and move the items to the carton. So multiple technologies working together, voice, light, in an order consolidation process. Good example. All right. So we wanted to touch on those technologies, provide that overview, and really thinking of the warehouse and a warehouse execution system holistically. What are the automation technologies? If you're just looking at it, sometimes some of those investments, people bought those as islands of automation. Try to avoid that. You know, if you buy it for one single purpose, you can accelerate one area of the warehouse, but unfortunately, you come into the aspect of creating bottlenecks possibly somewhere else downstream or upstream of that process. So, you know, bringing together all the different components. You know, order fulfillment is a 3-component process: picking, packing, and shipping. The warehouse execution layer really should have all of those tools and functionalities to, you know, complement each of those processes. Next. And this gives us a good example of now that the final component within the pack and ship process, you know, technologies within the warehouse execution system, each of these components that can be applied towards the packing and shipping product process. And that includes that ability to recognize the cartons automatically if it's picked a carton or cases, identify it through a barcode on the outside. So a scanning tunnel, scan it, weigh it, check it. If it's a carton level order, do you automate the document insertion? So there's technologies such as print fold insertion of the documents. Packing can be an operator station with a taper, workstation directing any value add instructions, things of that nature that may need to be added to the order. Tape it, seal it, then move through the process of scanning it, automating that manifesting process, communicating to the ERP to get the shipping labels and or any retail compliance labels that need to be applied. Apply technology, apply that, validate that, and then sort that down to the processing areas. So you could have a combination of parcels that may flow to a parcel build area or fluid load, trailer load if your volume's high enough for UPS, FedEx, or other carriers, and then utilizing voice and or mobile wearables, again, technology to scan and validate items to the pallet. Many customers are looking for pallet level details. They want to know, just like what's inside of a carton, they want to know what cases or mixed cases and cartons are built onto that particular pallet. It's a good operation. It's a good operation to automate with mobile wearable hands-free scanning to scan, validate, open, close pallets, keep track of those pallet contents. So next. It's just kind of an overview illustration. A lot of things came at you pretty quickly here, But these are all of the technologies we touched on today that are the role of managed by a warehouse execution system. So in the blue in the back, we have goods to person, where orders can be being picked by goods to person, directed directly to a carton or a tote. Those can flow on a material handling system such as a conveyor or AMRs. They flow over to your high level, high volume picking zones where the high velocity items, they stop at zones and operators pick and complete those orders. You have the AMR drop-offs that can come over out of the rack and shelf area, drop those orders onto the cart, and then they're all flowing into that system we were just talking about, that pack and ship. So a holistic design system that starts from picking, packing, shipping, and can also be applied in a modular approach. Where's the problem area, the bottleneck within the distribution center? What problem are you looking to solve? And does the warehouse execution vendors you're talking about have the right components and technologies that can put a system in that gives you that return on investment? So, next slide. And some are just that value of the WES, modular automation components that all can complement and be integrated and connected to your existing ERP platform. So that is our presentation for today, and open up for a few questions. And
yeah, so I have a question for you, Dan. So, I mean, I've been in distribution since 1984. A lot of this stuff that you showed today is new to me, right? So I haven't been as active on the warehousing and fulfillment side of the business as the marketing and sales side of the business. But I've been close to it. And a lot of this stuff, I would assume, is not something that a lot of distributors have a lot of expertise in. How do they get started? I mean, is there do you do an audit? Do you work with like your ERP provider and Numina Group and sort of do an analysis and see where the opportunities are? Or, I mean, if I'm designing a new distribution center, would I work with you and Epicor, say, and figure out, okay, here's where one system leaves off and then where the other one picks up? I mean, how do I get started at figuring out which of those ideas fit my particular requirements?
Right. Well, we first, as a business, we're pretty technically oriented sales and engineering team. So we basically do a discovery with the customer, go out, look at their operation, ask for some data, look at their order profiles, look at their practices within the distribution center, and ensure that, hey, some component of automation might be a good fit. And if we identify that with the customer, how are they doing their order fulfillment processes, say, today? Or what is their problem? We'll walk in and there's customers that have a real hard time because of the large volume of containers that come in, of unloading and moving that product from receiving to put away. So we kind of look for what are your problems to solve. And then most of the projects, at least Numina Group gets involved in, we'll start with an engineering analysis. If it makes sense and it looks like there's a strong return on investment, customers are asking us, let's compare the different technologies. Show me what a standard material handling, they say multi-level pick module that would be a pick to conveyor system. What are the performances that we would get if we're doing the picking? What would voice added to that provide us? And give us your KPIs. Let's go visit some customers, look at that technology. Also compare it at the same time, and compare and contrast. Is a goods to person system viable for a customer? Are autonomous mobile robots viable? So many times it comes down to, in that base starting, what are these two technologies and what's the trade-off in what they give you in regards to improvement to an existing distribution center, or possibly if you're building a new distribution center, what are the technologies that we can apply to the operation? So I'd call it discovery engineering design, where we're really working hand in hand with the customer, and we're part of their team saying, here are the technologies, and here are the returns on investment you could get from this particular technology versus a different technology.
Excellent. Okay. Well, Dan, you did an amazing job pinch hitting for Pat in his short notice having to leave because he was sick. So thank you for standing in for him today. You did a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And we hope that there was a few nuggets of gold there for your audience.
I'm sure there were. If everyone can hang on for just a couple more minutes. We do have a program coming up on September 19th. It's called Cash Flow in Financial Management Systems. We'll talk about everything from how to improve your working capital to collecting more quickly to improving your rebate performance, etc. So we will have a representative from Epicor there. Michael Lovelace is turned out to have a conflict, but his boss, Frank Heenan, will be there, and along with Mo Barzima from Enable. And then the 20th of September, we have a private equity expert named Jay Grayson, friend of the company, who will talk about equity events and M&A trends in the distribution industry. My name is Ian Heller. My email address is iheller@distributionstrategy.com. Much thanks to Numina Group today and Dan Hanrahan for pinch hitting for Pat. Again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on one of Distribution Strategy Group's events. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.